Welcome to The Explainer. We're diving right into something today that is absolutely fundamentally changing how we create visual media. We're going to break down the official prompting documentation for Google's Veo 3 and Nano Banana. And listen, our goal today isn't just to teach you how to type some text into a box. No way. We want to completely shift your mindset. By the time we wrap up this explainer, you're going to stop thinking of yourself as a mere prompt writer, and you're going to start acting like a true AI film director. Let's get into it. So, we've all been there, right? You type what you think is this incredibly brilliant idea into a video generator, and boom, the output is just an unpredictable, morphing disaster. Naturally, you try to fix it, you add more words, but it honestly just gets worse. The reason this happens is because AI video generation isn't magic. It's actually a highly complex statistical machine. Without a structured, repeatable methodology, you're literally just rolling the dice. But today, we're going to solve that unpredictability using the exact frameworks designed for Google's Veo and Gemini 2.5 flash image, which you might know as Nano Banana. Here's our roadmap to getting that cinematic control. We'll quickly cover the basic video prompt formula, talk through camera and cinematography language, hit on some repetition and complexity tips, dive into advanced workflows, and finally, wrap it all up with a multi-platform content strategy. All right, section 1, the basic video prompt formula. This is your absolute foundation of control. Okay, the biggest mistake people make right out of the gate is talking to Veo like it's a human reading a novel. Veo does not understand conversational language. Under the hood, it's just converting your text into numbers. So to get exactly what we want, we have to learn to speak its statistical language. And that requires a really specific modular formula. Every strong Veo 3 prompt has to include these 5 elements in this exact structured way. First up, cinematography, where is the camera? Second, the subject, who or what is the focus? Third, action, what are they actually doing? Fourth, context, where are they? And finally, style and ambiance, what's the mood, the lighting, the overall aesthetic? According to the source data, if you keep your prompt between 3 to 6 sentences, that's roughly 100 to 150 words, using this sequence, you are going to get the most consistent, high-quality results. Take a scene like a man out in the open desert, for instance. To get that near-perfect adherence to your vision, you want to place your subject, a man in worn clothing, and the context, an open desert under a pale blue sky, right at the very front of the prompt. By front-loading these specific details in that modular format, you're essentially forcing the AI to prioritize them. It doesn't get confused by long-winded paragraphs. It just systematically checks off the boxes: subject, context, action, style, camera, and even audio. Moving right along to section 2, camera and cinematography language. Consider this the director's toolkit. So if the basic formula is your foundation, cinematography is your toolkit. The golden rule we get from the documentation is this: if you don't actively direct the camera in your prompt, the AI is just going to guess the framing based on its training data. And trust me, its guess is rarely the cinematic vision you had in your head. You have to take the wheel here. Use specific film language. Tell Veo if you want a wide shot or an extreme close-up. Tell it if the camera is at eye level or maybe a low angle to make the subject look really imposing. And for camera movements, like a dolly shot or a slow pan, the documentation gives us this fantastic pro tip. Write your camera movement as a completely standalone sentence. Don't bury it in the middle of describing what your character is doing. Separate the movement instructions from the subject's actions, and I promise you the AI will follow your framing much, much more reliably. Now, this concept is an absolute game changer. Think like a filmmaker. Create emotion through what is seen and heard, not through text. Veo doesn't actually know what loneliness feels like. So if you just type a lonely man, you are totally leaving it up to chance. Instead, you have to visually show it. Think about how you'd recreate the mood of Edward Hopper's famous Nighthawks painting. You wouldn't type lonely. You'd type visual cues, right? Customers sitting far apart, a server avoiding eye contact, an empty dark street outside, maybe the sound of a strong howling wind. You build the emotion through the visual distance, the lighting, and the audio. Which brings us nicely to section 3, repetition and complexity tips. It's all about communicating clearly. You know, when we don't get the result we want, our natural human instinct is to just repeat the word louder, kind of treating the AI like a toddler who isn't listening. But this brilliantly illustrates why that actually breaks the output. If you want a heavy rain scene, writing rain falls, rain drips, rain hits pavement doesn't create a stronger emphasis. Because Veo converts text to a mathematical sequence, repeating the same word just creates this noisy, unfocused, muddy output. The much better habit is variation. Describe the cold drizzle, the droplets tapping against rusted metal, the sheen of water reflecting pink signage. Using this varied, descriptive language creates rich layering, and it tells the model exactly what the environment looks like without confusing its statistical mapping. And here is a hard number you absolutely need to remember from the official tests: 15. That is the maximum number of identical objects VO3 can reliably handle in a single shot. If you ask for a crowd of 50 people or a sky full of 50 birds, the model has to manage scale, spacing, and spatial logic all at exactly the same time. And the result? Just vague, melting shapes. The guide urges us to think like a screenwriter here. Ask yourself, which objects actually serve the story? If you only need 6 lanterns floating on a lake to make a scene feel eerie and cinematic, then ask for exactly 6 lanterns and cut the rest of them. Less really is more. All right, section 4, advanced workflows. We're going way beyond basic text to video now. Everybody take a breath because we are entering the absolute most exciting part of this explainer. Text to video is great, sure, but to unlock true professional-grade cinematic control, we have to move beyond just typing words into a blank prompt. First up is image to video, or I to V. This completely flips the prompting process on its head. You don't have to spend 100 words exhaustively describing the character and the background anymore. Instead, you use an image generator, like Nano Banana, which is powered by Gemini 2.5 Flash Image, to create the absolute perfect starting frame. Once you feed that image into Veo, your text prompt's job shrinks. You are now strictly directing the action, the camera movement, and the audio. This is the ultimate secret to getting perfect character and asset consistency across multiple clips for, say, a short film. And that builds into something even more powerful, the start and end frame workflow. This offers literally the highest level of narrative control available. You provide the exact first frame and the exact last frame. Your text prompt now acts purely as a roadmap connecting those 2 points. You can use this to execute a perfectly smooth 180-degree camera arc around a singer, create a seamless video loop, or even pull off a magical transformation, like having an empty room seamlessly build its own furniture over the course of 8 seconds. It's incredible. So how do you choose? Well, it's always a trade-off, right? If you want high creative freedom and novelty, use text to video, but know that your visual consistency will be pretty low. If you need a specific actor or a brand logo to look exactly the same across multiple shots, image to video is going to be your best friend. And if you need a super precise cinematic transition from point A to point B, you sacrifice some of that initial creative freedom to use start/end frames, but in return, you gain absolute optimal control over the final shot. Finally, section 5, multi-platform content strategy. Let's sit at the producer's desk for a minute. Okay, so we have the formula, the camera language, and the workflows. But creating a cool-looking video is honestly only half the battle. Knowing how to strategically deploy it across different platforms is what actually gets eyes on your work. According to the producer guidelines, different content types demand vastly different visual directions. Think about it. You wouldn't prompt a poetry video the exact same way you prompt a high-energy commercial. For poetry, your prompt needs to explicitly instruct the AI to use slow pans, soft lighting, and a shallow depth of field to match that melancholic mood. But for a commercial video, your prompt needs to demand sharp, bright product lighting and a high-energy 3-second visual hook right out of the gate. A truly good producer tailors the AI prompt to the specific genre. A good producer also knows their platform's technical specs inside and out. You might have one brilliant core cinematic idea, say a highly detailed historical scene of a village. You do not need to rewrite the entire prompt to put it on a new platform. You just repackage it. You adjust the aspect ratio parameter to 16:9 for a long-form YouTube documentary style, and then switch it over to 1:1 or 4:5 for a punchy, dense Instagram feed post. And listen, if you're aiming for TikTok, YouTube Shorts, or Reels, this is absolutely non-negotiable, a 9:16 aspect ratio. The AI needs to know to frame the subjects vertically so they don't get awkwardly cut off. Furthermore, that 3-second hook is mandatory. If you're generating a 6-second clip in Veo, all the compelling action you wrote into your prompt needs to be front and center immediately, or your audience will just swipe right past it. Following these technical specs ensures the beautiful art you just generated actually converts and retains attention in the real world. Well, we have covered a massive amount of ground today. You now know that talking to Veo and Nano Banana isn't about crossing your fingers and hoping for the best. It is about structured, intentional direction. From that 5-part cinematography formula to understanding why we have a 15-object limit, all the way to executing those flawless start and end frame transitions. The tools for absolute creative control are literally sitting right there on your keyboard. So the only question left to ask yourself is, what cinematic masterpiece are you going to direct today? Get out there, start experimenting, and have fun with it. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.